Welcome to ChessBase Magazine 156. The top tournaments of this issue are the FIDE Grand Prix tournament in Beijing, which was won by Mamedyarov, second Grishuk and third Tobolov. And Valerin Tobolov has already won the FIDE Grand Prix. Congratulations. Shahryar Mamedyarov is second at the moment, and only Grishuk and Caruana can theoretically still catch and overtake him. Then the Super Tournament in Dortmund, which was won by Michael Adams, and Vladimir Kramnik was second. And Michael Adams has annotated in detail his win against Fabiano Caruana. I, of course, had to delete almost all annotations here and in the following examples due to the space limitations of the video format. How did Adams, with black to move, convert his advantage here? Rook takes c3. This is very strong, and now white is just too passive, and black will easily convert the extra pawns. Then the Grandmaster Tournament in Biel, where 4 players won the traditional format and so had to make a tie-break tournament, which was won by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, second Alexander Moiseyenko, third Etienne Bacrot, and fourth Ding Liren. Last not least, the FIDE World Cup in Tromsø, which was won by Vladimir Kramnik, second was Andreikin, and then came Tomaszewski and Vachier-Lagrave, and all 4 have annotated games for this ChessBase magazine. I want to especially emphasize Vladimir Kramnik's amazing win against Dmitry Andreikin with a queen sacrifice, which was annotated by Vladimir in detail. And how did he convert here and this? I found really amazing. He's a strong endgame technique. So if you want to study endgames or endgame strategy, one good way would be to study his games, especially those which he has annotated himself, like this one. c7. It's really amazing that this transformation leads to a winning endgame. But the next move is also very important. How to coordinate the rooks, how to fight against the queen. Rook e1 is very important move, very important. And now white should be winning in the long run, but it is still very deep, difficult and complicated, and Vladimir did a great job, both over the board and in his annotations. Please don't miss them. Enjoy them. There are 11 opening surveys with 3 new authors. The Macedonian Grandmaster Vladimir Georgiev looks at the Budapest Gambit, a possible concept for white according to the game Aronyan Ivanchuk, but also with ideas for black. The Serbian Grandmaster Milos Pavlovic looks at the Ruy Lopez with an early b5 and bishop c5. And the Bulgarian international master Peter Arnaudov looks at his pet opening, the Black Knight Tango. And in the first part of the series, okay, one moment. Now we have a typical tango position. Both black's knights out early. And now the first part of the series deals with a concept against white's a3. Black now goes into King's Indian waters and wants to prove that the move a3 doesn't help white. And now comes Arnaudov deals with more options, of course. I can only present one, and this was Kalev-Mann's recommendation against the tango. And here Arnaudov shows the way to equality following Raga Caruana Mitropa Cup 2009, black to move. How to avoid really deep King's Indian vortice. e5, the typical King's Indian method, and now knight d4. No deep vortice with knight e7 or whatever. Yeah, and then this should equalize. And the reason is that the tactics now work in black's favor. If the knight takes back, then black has queen h4. And if the bishop takes on g7, black has rook e8. The tactics really work in black's favor. And in the game, it was already more pleasant to play for Caruana, and he also went on to win against Raga. But this, of course, is only the first part of Arnaudov's series on the tango, and it deals with ways against a3 in the fourth moves, and yeah, black will go now into King's Indian Vores, but hoping to avoid the King's Indian main lines and play it in tango style. I want to emphasize two further articles. The first is by Martin Bräutigam on a black concept against the King's Gambit. Well, the King's Gambit is not... it's quite dangerous if you have no weapon against it, and if black now plays passively, then white can profit from the early aggression. And I think Bräutigam gives a good concept for players who don't have time to study the theory of the more ambitious moves like g5. 97, very solid move. The knight can go to g6 to protect the pawn, and it helps d5, and it's not so much theory and very solid. Yeah, and after bishop c4, then transposing into this, it could also arise via knight f6, move orders in some other ways. Bräutigam explains all this in detail. Yeah, and here after bishop e6, black is not worse, might be even slightly more comfortable. And bishop d5 also is not so impressive. So the ball seems to be in white's court, according to Bräutigam. Yeah, and I really like this concept against the King's Gambit. Very solid, not so much theory, and white doesn't get in his all-sacrifice lines. Mikhail Krasenkov presents a recipe for white in this Ruy Lopez. So this is a Ruy Lopez main line, and now d4. And yeah, black must know what he's doing now. There are many pitfalls, many of the tempting moves are not so good, as explained by Mikhail Krasenkov in detail. I can't do it here, of course, but if you are in need of a surprise weapon, or even, yeah, this could be even your repertoire with white against the Spanish, d4. Yeah, okay, I think there's, one important thing. Here, this could transpose to the Riga variation. This you must be willing to play, of course, resulting in this typical endgame. All known to the theory, and Krasenkov thinks that white's two pieces are worth more than black's rook, and you can go into some detail here, but it has something. There are still so many men on the board, and white has, for the moment, slight initiative. The rooks are not so impressive at the moment, so it might be a bit better for white. And the other thing is, if black chooses the main line of this variation, you should be willing to go into the following transformation. Yeah, you should not be a lover of the two bishops, of course, because white gives them. But what does he get in return? Yeah, he gets in return the play on the light squares on the queen side, and sometimes even can switch to king side play. So yeah, this might be a good surprise weapon, or even your main repertoire. It might be not as long-term strong as the main line, but it has, of course, its own poison. And Mikhail Krasenkov, so gives a good repertoire recommendation based on this move. And if black doesn't know the variation, there are many early traps and pitfalls awaiting him. From the columns, I want to especially emphasize Dorian Rogozenko's excellent strategy column, and I especially like how Rogozenko manages to connect the past to the present so that it is easier to remember the motives. How did Tigran, Vatanovich, Petrosyan proceed here with black to move against Lev Pologayevsky, Moscow 1983? Rook takes e3. This is very strong. It destroys white's bishops. It gives black's knight the eternal outpost. the attack and initiative with opposite colored bishops, and white's bishop does not really know what to do. So black has good compensation and might be even, and the practical task might be even easier for black, and Petrosyan won quite quickly. And now let's compare this to Gawain Jones, Darius Swierz, German Bundesliga 2013. Black to move, rook takes e3 or f5. Yeah, and again, the exchange sacrifice should be played, because here white just stops it, and then white has pleasant initiative, I think. Very pleasant play in the center and against the queen side. While here it is completely the other way round. Black's initiative on the king side or on the dark squares is extremely dangerous. And now, yeah, the knight, which is bad on the rim, regroups into the center. And yeah, this I wouldn't like for white at all. I wouldn't know so much what to do, while black has a strong plan, a strong initiative on the dark squares, and yeah, in the end, Darius Swierz won. So such positional exchange sacrifice should be part of your arsenal of positional weapons. Oliver Ray deals with on the brink in his tactics column, so the king really is on the verge of an abyss, and yeah, should try to survive and really solve the exercises yourself to keep your tactical eye sharp. Daniel King in his move-by-move column deals with Bartel Ganguly, Biel 2013, and it was a Sicilian defense with d6, where Bartel played bishop b5 check, and again really try to solve all Daniel's questions yourself first. In the endgame column, I look at endgames with queen and minor piece against queen and minor piece in the first part, and I think this is underrepresented in the classical literature, and I especially seek for comparisons to the endgames with rook and minor piece against rook and minor piece. Last not least, the opening trap by Rainer Knack in the English opening. Horvath Cantor, Budapest 2012 would be one example. There are different move orders, of course, for white to set the trap. White could also play d3 here. Yeah. Black is very ambitious, wants to build a full center, but this has a price, of course. Bishop g5 might be nasty, and now the trap is set. How to exploit the mistake d5. Calculate this yourself first a bit deeper, and only then look at Rainer Knack's solution in traditional format or in Fritz Trainer video format on the DVD. And now I wish you a lot of fun with ChessBase Magazine 156.